We are so back. Hello, OSL. 2 hours past. Long time no see. However, the night is not over yet. One more series at 10 p.m. It's 10 p.m. AEST. It is Peony Dynasty versus Semipro, but that's not all. Guess what? I have someone new casting with me tonight. Ellie, how are we feeling? And please tell us, what sets do we have tonight?
Thank you very much, Hunter. I am super duper nervous, but we have our first set being Dark Lord on Wretched Shop. We have our second set being Wraith on Dead Dog Saloon, and our tiebreaker Ghoul on Suffocation Pit. Now, I feel like we have a pretty average build here. We've got Corrupt Intervention. Oh, I can't see the backs anymore. We've got Corrupt Intervention, we've got Eruption, Pain Res, and Ruin, which I feel like are pretty much run on most of the killers nowadays, and I don't know much about Dark Lord sets, so Hunter, you're gonna have to tell me what's typical, what goes on here.
Well, this is pretty typical going into your fastest form, being the bats and whatnot. You do have that traversability to kind of compensate for the lost ground. However, we have found our chase nice and early as a result of that. It's going to be the first one onto our Claudette away, or I'm just going to call them Claudette because I don't think I actually know how to pronounce that name. Regardless, yeah, you are right. Stock standard build here. You have Corrupt Intervention to help you out in the early game. You do have the likes of Pain Resonance and Eruption to come back on in the later game, and then Ruin just to be there for as long as it actually remains in the trial. We do get a nice early tag onto Claudette there, and they're going to be rotating towards mid 3 to try to make as much distance as possible, but a nicely placed Hellfire is going to spell the down onto them and the first stage of the game. Now, considering how quickly that had actually happened, I don't imagine there'd be too much progress on the map here, as we do see our Dwight off in the distance somewhere. That generator is only about 25%, and yeah, our Saga has not helped off that generator in time. It's going to be blowing up in her face. Now, straight back into the bats, where we can potentially find out where that scream had came from, and then just follow up the next chase, I guess.
Yeah, it looks like it. We've gotten our first hook, which still at 5 gens and no prog is a little bit scary. The average for the tournament so far has been 4k1, so it could potentially be that not too many stages. But we've got him in bat form, trying to go back to our tunnel out. Gonna be hopefully maybe pulling up Hellfire at this pallet. No, gonna be breaking it. And we're just going to keep trying to chase. I assume all the survivors are just sitting gens, maybe 3 splitting or doubling, unsure. Just going to keep chasing around this rock filler, breaking pallets, and just trying to get the tunnel out. Not really too much going on here. Going to be going into wolf form. From what I know, the wolf bug has been fixed, so you cannot just get a free tag. We're going to see the body block coming in and getting enough distance to try and make it to another filler.
Yeah, and that's right. We are just letting our tunnel out last that little bit longer that we need them to. You had the body come in, and that's going to be the first generator of the trial. Proc in the distance there. As we do pull up the Hellfire, this is a nasty little short filler to be working with, but we've made absolute work of it here. Our Claudette's able to last us that little bit longer as we need. The wolf form comes out, really trying to hide beneath the crevices of the tires and where they're placed on this loop, and we've done so nicely as we did. That did result in a tag, so going to be that second down onto our tunnel out Claudette, and we do see via the Eruption proc onto the generator over at 12 that they are doubling it. They're also got a single over towards 2. We're trying to drag there very closely, and we are going to get this just in time here. It's not going to be a pain resonance, but it is going to interrupt the survivors of the generator to spell a tag, as we have momentarily caught someone at the short end of the filler here. That's going to be another tag onto our Saga, so she's just rotated off into 9, and we straight back into those bats, following up the scratch marks there, back into the dog form. Really trying to cut off here and try to get that nasty tag over the window, but to no avail. We are straight back into the bats form and straight to the hook here, where we potentially can solidify our tunnel out. As it does happen in front of our face, it's going to be Dwight on the floor, and he's just rendered obsolete at the moment, but it was an FTP, so we're at a full health state right now. Claudette really having to last after the life here to really set their team up for success in the long run. We do hear in the background, 2 is just going off its chops, but I don't know how far it is completed. It is a lot completed, though. That's going to be a tag with the dog onto our Claudette, who's just rotated back into 5 now. Not really much to be going off on here. I mean, you do have the likes of just this filler pallet towards this half of, I don't know, L&T wall that you want to call it. We get the hit through the pallet too, and that's going to be our tunnel out Claudette, done and dusted out of the trial. I don't really know what the pressure's looking like. I know 2 was really far done, and it's almost about to pop realistically. There's going to be nothing that interrupts it from here now, but it's a 3v1 at 2 generators remaining.
Going into the 3v1 is a little hard. It's definitely, especially with someone going on the floor right now, you're going to have somebody rotating for that unhook and one person sitting on a gen. From what I know, I believe Misery we just saw resetting with Medkit, I think that was. We're going to see some scratch marks here in bat form, and we're going to be finding... Who are we going to be finding? We're going to be finding X1, and that just means that Misery is going to have to go for that unhook, and there's going to be no gen prog coming across the board. This could honestly, I don't know how good this team is at the 3v1, but this could honestly look like a 4k1 or something. Missing that Hellfire. I'm not too well versed in a Dark Lord set, so I don't know how good this is looking, honestly. X1 on the floor. This will probably be another pain res if there is another pain res around. There is. We're going to be dragging for that.
Not really going to do too much. I do believe there was a reset happening on in the background, which kind of needed to at this point of the game. You know, you had Sentry and Misery and X1 all injured at the same time after Sentry coming off the hook and everybody injured on the board. They needed to go for that reset, so it's nice that they actually have that at their disposal now. That extra health state's really going to aid them more towards this late stage of the 3v1 here. You know, you still have 2 generators to pop, so it's looking likely this can result in a 4k1. Anything more, it's pushing it, honestly, because you don't typically see survivors out from a position like this unless you're Chinese Dragons or Luong. I mean, you saw them do it last week from a 4k3, so anything's possible. We don't want to rule up any sort of possibility yet, but nevertheless, NVM back into that dog form here, really trying to play around the little ties, and they've done so really nicely to be able to use the dog form to their advantage, the height advantage that you really get amongst these shorter loops and turning them into true 50s. However, we do manage to just eat the slug there, and Sentry has given up a very nasty tag that really didn't need to give up right now. I mean, we have a pallet to be used here. As it does go down, we have bought ourselves a little bit more distance to be working with, and we are really trying to run around the rocks and just play our guest spots here. And we're winning every single one of them. That's about 150 bucks in hand. Here we go. Count your 50s. Can we get the down onto our ace here? No. We're going to be slamming into the rock, biting into the rock right now, and that's going to be a break onto the pallet. It's going to allow Ace to just utilize 9 to full effect here, or even go corner 7 death spot as we do get the pickup in the background back onto X1 here. We only have a drop filler and a dream. Nothing to really be working with. Straight back into that form and just breaking the pallet here. We can comfortably sit this chase. We don't have to worry too much about wasting too much time, as we did force a lot of pressure with that slug. However, NVM really wants to hold on to that 4k2. He's going to be going straight into the bats and then to the nearest progress generator here, which was the one closest to our slug survivor, our Saga. Misery just going to be utilizing that window there over at the T, and then has the L to be working with as well. Playing on the outside, which is a little bit risky. This is going to allow the middle to be used once more there. And yeah, we're really struggling to get this next down here. NVM really trying to put on the Jets. Does see the scratch marks here leading back into 12. And we have another resource to be utilized just in front of us here. Straight back into the Hellform. We're going to be trying to use that Hellfire, trying to get that tag nice and early, but still not quite working out. The survivors are playing tremendously well given the circumstances that they've been allocated. And just over in the edge map, we've just delayed the tag so much more. And it's really causing problems from MDM to the point where he has to get that tag and just leave. He can't commit for the down here. Straight back into the bats mode. We are going to be just teleporting straight back to the pallet there. You do see the scratch marks here over at 3 to 4, but there is nobody inside as they have rotated off and straight back to the backside of Shack. Even towards edge map 6. How do you like that for distance, I guess? But we do hear him. It is going to be our Ace, who was once upon a time injured a little bit earlier on in the trial here. Does pre-drop the pallet there and has a lot to be working with after it, but he's opted not to leave, which is nice because he has to play his 50s here, but has to win them and does the crouch mind game very nicely. That works out in his favor, vaulting back into our killer there. This is ultimately going to spell the down even with the short bite, I guess, and yeah, honestly, we probably should have taken that vault, but regardless, it was a very nice chase from Sentry, given the fact that he only had a short filler over at 6 to be working with in Dream. So straight back into the bats, rinse repeat scenario. It's just going to be downs from here. I don't think that NVM will risk the pick because he spent a little too long in these chases here. So if he does risk a pick, it has to be a pain resonance, which we know Sentry is not. He's been one hooked, and there's 2 stacks gone. So it's either him or X1 that has been pain res, but for some reason I feel like it's X1 that has the pain res in his back pocket. Who knows? As we do take the break over the generator, straight back over towards the slug, and we think maybe it's safe to pick up here.
Yeah, it seems like Peony are very, very confident in their 3v1. I think now that the pressure's on, they're really making sure that their chases are really well. If I am correct, I believe Sentry's the one who hasn't been pen resed. We'll see in just a second. I'm completely incorrect. You were right. They're just going to be kind of stealthing. One person's going to be rotating for the pull. Misery's got to play super, super careful here as they are the last pain, well, one of the last pain res, and they're also injured, so they have a very high likelihood of just being tapped in on the ground. Prada is going to be in bat form, going straight back to Hook, trying to find his other tunnel out. And then hoping that X1 and Misery just hop on a gen. Best thing to, I don't know if it's best to double or to just try and two split here. I feel like they might just be going for a 4K1 rather than trying to get outs here, although that would be best case scenario. X1 being in chase here, the best person to be in chase as he is the healthy one and is not Death Hook. Going to be missing at that Hellfire and just trying to make it to main, as that is probably a strong resource on this map with the window. Going to be in wolf form, getting that haste orb and not getting hit there. This is not an overly high ping matchup. This is SEA to NEA, so there's not too much ping. Getting that hit there and running towards, I believe that's 4. And just going to be playing the pallet. Hopefully, if I can get the streamer to change to one of the survivors. Are they... Oh, they just popped a gen, never mind. This... Honestly, going into bat form, leaving, going to check the other gens, a reset happening in the background, not being able to complete it. But yeah, there's not too much going on right now, just an average 3v1.
They're playing really well, though. Being able to get that reset onto our Death Hook survivor here is going to give him that extra health state to spare if he does need it. The generator over at main is about to pop as well. NVM caught in between a rock and a hard place, has chosen to leave and chosen to go to the right generator here. We are going to be playing around the rock where there's this filler to be working with again. So it's filler central right now, or at least the survivors just know where the fillers are placed on this map regardless. It's going to be the stun here, so no down onto X1, and we really needed at a point in time like this, especially with Eruption. I'm not too sure if it was actually applied to main, but if it's not, it's just chopped chicken cheese from here. We're rotating over towards 9. We've double backed into 10 as well, straight back into the bats here, and we've lost sight of the survivor. Oh no, we've caught onto them again. We're just trying to hear them out, as you cannot hear them in the bat form, so see them in the bat form rather, sorry. We are going to be going for that pickup onto X1 here, and that I do believe was the Eruption proc onto main, so I have been sorely mistaken as the spectator HUD has failed me once more. We are going to be just hooking straight in front of main. All that progress is going to be lost right now, and we did have a reset happening off in the background there. Sentry, Misery, both healthy. You heard about maybe 10-15% proggy on one of the generators over towards either, I think it was 6. It might even be a little bit more. Look at that. It's about 2 pistons pumping here. It's about 30% of the way. We are going to be taking that kick onto that generator. The Hun hook happens in the background there. You really want to be getting a tunnel out at this point because you want to solidify the 2v1 at one generator remaining as quickly as possible. However, I fear we are actually chasing the incorrect survivor that we want to be chasing at this time. But, I mean, something to at least that is worth noting is the fact that, you know, this is a fresh hook here. This is our only stack of pain resonance left on the map. And, you know, we have time to chase them considering that we are going for a reset. As we do drop this pallet here over towards corner 5. We are going to be dodging the hit ever so nicely. Pallet goes down again. It's another very strong long rock, even with the dog form. And ultimately, we win the 50s here. And I should just shut up because I don't know what I'm talking about. But that's going to be the pickup onto Misery. Straight back onto a pain resonance hook, I would assume, but look at where they are dispersed. They are quite far away from where we had got our down. I think maybe we might even just opt to take a hook location as to oppose of something that would aid us, like a pain resonance. Yeah, straight back into the bats, into main as well. Going to be trying to cut off that survivor, just slamming out main. I do believe it is X1, considering that Sentry was rotating off the pull preemptively. No, yeah, it was. Sorry, I was right the first time. I judged myself wrong. But we are going to be kicking that generator and checking the lockers to see every you know, last known location to our survivor, but I guess we know they're hiding out over at 11, but our killer doesn't, and he's just going to opt to play it safe, go back for Misery, try to get the down maybe, or try to bait out the survivor back into working the main generator. That's an even better play, and we've caught them out in the little red hat! Oh no, but this chase has to be quick because if it's not, on the off chance, you can anticipate there'll be a double in the background. No time for resetting. Yeah, look at that. They're slamming at that generator about 50% of the way done as we do take the tag onto our Dwight there. X1. Oh, do we chase? We really should not be chasing this. He's getting a little bit too far ahead of himself here as we've just baited out the vault twice about now. We're going for the down. Do we go for the slug or the pick? We're going for the pick. And I don't know if they're actually doubling it anymore, as we do see Sentry's rotated off the generator. He should have just stuck the double, because look, it's so close to being done, and they have Resi too. Oh, it's a generational fumble, I would say, but I guess now it's able to be taken back into NVM's hands, straight back into the dog form, really trying to sniff out who's in this in this location, I guess. Going to even be playing it safe and getting rid of a lot of resources around this generator here. That's the break coming in now. Eruption procced onto that generator. You know, a rotation over towards 3 sentries, even over at corner 11. I mean, if we can manage to find Misery, it's pretty much GG. But, you know, if you find Sentry, also could also be GG, but he does have the extra health state to spare.
Look, X1 might need to think of an outfit change after being seen on that tiny little rock, but that is the reason we are now in a 2v1. And in a 2v1, you do have to play really slow. You have to have a really good comms with pre-leaving and making sure you don't get found. But Prada is just going to be in bat form, really monitoring his gens, putting Eruption on them, and just trying to catch out a survivor who makes a misplay here. There's nothing more to it. Again, just looking around, I do question looking in bat form, considering you can't see the survivor, and chances are a survivor is not going to be running. We see Sentry hiding behind a rock near main, Misery near 2, I believe that is, and we see the killer going back towards 6. So they might go for the double here. I would think that one person would be on each gen trying to pressure both at the same time, but I am not too familiar with 2v1s, nor am I too familiar with casting, so I might just have to pass it back to you here.
No, fair enough. You did mention that obviously being in bat form, why would you use the bat form? And that is correct for line of sight purposes, I guess. The only issue is how far dispersed these generators actually are, but it doesn't even matter. We found them out and they're bundled as well at that, with only 2 survivors in the trial. These micromanagement mistakes on the side of NBM are really costing him. However, I mean, it's pretty much easier said than done, but there's going to be a tag onto Sentry. Needs to follow up the chase here. I think Misery would probably rotate back for that generator over at main, potentially, as we do emerge back from the bats. We're straight back into the Hellfire form. Dog even as well, so really need to make it count right now, and we've missed it again. Nice bait out by Sentry. Oh, Lord, and now we're able to use the L to our full effect as well, and that's going to be the down on to Sentry. And if you're wondering who NVM is, it's probably worth noting that he is Prada. He did change his name. Unfortunately, has not changed because DBD likes to be DBD. But however, as I say that, Prada is going to be finding the last known survivor here, and that is going to be our Saga Misery. Just eating that tag there. Doesn't really matter too much if Sentry bleeds out. I mean, as soon as you get the down onto Misery here, it's pretty much GG. But yeah, I mean, very well played by Prada, being able to capitalize on every single mistake. He was looking extremely strong through the whole trial, getting his tunnel out very early. The only thing that I will say is he spent a little too much time in chase in some instances, especially it's more towards the middle to late game, where, you know, he was looking like he was a bit panicky, a little bit finicky at them, just trying to chase those survivors. He kept on messing up just a little bit, and look, the dog is pretty hard to control sometimes, I will say, as it's pathing is quite linear. You can't really bend with it too much. You have to rely on crappy hitboxes and whatnot sometimes. But, you know, even his Hellfires, he was just missing with those a few too many times, getting a little bit too fancy with the flicks and whatnot, or trying to place them in really weird locations to, I guess, compensate for a prediction nonetheless. And we're golden. Yes, we are back a little bit over the 3-minute mark. Do apologize, but I thought I'd throw out a funny number there, see what we could do. And, you know, sometimes it's not, I'll say it's not the staff, it was the players this time, all right? Don't crucify me, please. But regardless, we are going into the second half of the Dark Lord here, which will be Peony Dynasty's killer this time around with Semipro's survivor lineup. So this should be pretty interesting. B1, 2, B12. We saw him play the Dark Lord not too long ago, but I do believe that Peony Dynasty may have lost that set. However, it was still a pretty good one. B112 is B12, sorry, is definitely well versed in the Dark Lord. We do know this, but straight into the bat form here, we are commencing the matchup with a build that is slightly different to the other one this time around. I would say that this one is probably a little bit weaker. I know people swear by Wretched Fate. I just don't like it per se, but it is typically brought in on a Dark Lord set nonetheless. However, We're going to be straight back into that dog form. That's a quick 2-tap off the rip. My God, that's going to be our Tory Kane on the floor here with, yeah, this is going to be no generator progress on the map here as we went for a 3-split, but regardless, even if we didn't go for a 3-split, I would say even a double wouldn't be enough to really back up any sort of worrying type of progression with the match, however. B1-2 straight back into the dog form here, going to be checking out 3, seeing what that's like, and our survivors already just pre-left this generator, so we do take the kick onto here. So the game already coming at a little bit of a slow start. It could have been a little bit faster. Granted, that chase actually lasted a little bit longer. It's probably set them up for a pretty bad early game, but never too late. Never say never, and hopefully when we get our survivor off the hook there, they can actually have a juicer second one as we do kick the generator here over at 6. We're straight back into the bats and back towards that hook here. Now we really need to make this chase count. That's a nice FTP to really send off our tunnel out off in the distance. Songbird's going to get caught as a result of it though. Now what it's done is it has reset the tunnel out here, but I mean, straight back on the case, B1-2 isn't going to give it up that easily. He's not even going to eat the pain resonance because he knows he doesn't need to. You know, with someone on the floor, they can only really be singling 2 different generators, and that's going to be only 3 generators remaining. So he has time to go back for the tunnel out, and yeah, that's going to be, again, Tory on the floor, just really not having a good time. Really needs to be lasting a little bit longer, otherwise we're looking at a potential tunnel out at 5 generators remaining here, Ellie.
Yeah, with such a short chase at the very start, that allowed B12 to leave the hook, get eruption on all of his gens, and then still be back at the hook, back in time for when the unhook happened. And then killing Songbird made sure that all the eruption went off, so any prog that they were getting in the background was just completely poofed. Going back to the hook here to see if the rotation has been made, which he's looking around and it doesn't quite look like it. This could honestly, if they just want Jed Prog, they could just leave him on hook to die. I wouldn't recommend it personally, as that would leave a 3v1 at about maybe 3 or 4 gens. But honestly, this is not looking good on the side of Semipro. It's just going to be B12 really trying to secure the kill, looking around, seeing if he can find a rotate or anything like that. He does see a rotate on edge map. He sees, I don't know, he sees the Jake, misses the Hellfire, and he might just go for the trade here. And yep, that'll be also eruption procced on gens, if I'm not wrong. Going into bat form to try and catch up and try and wait out the BT. But just playing a chase here, and this might honestly just be a tunnel out at 3 gens, as we do see Buru about to pop another gen. That
Hello
is
there.
unlucky. I have done that on many occasions in my scrims. It does not feel good. But we're going to be picking our down survivor up, and that will be Tory dead at 4 gens.
It is already looking pretty grim. B1-2 going to be kicking that generator there, just on the outside of short 6. That's our tunnel out gone at 4 generators remaining. It's, how do you pull this back? You need to be just facilitating those short chases with something that's a little bit more concrete and strong. And who better to do the job than, I do believe there's a Songbird in chase. Man, honestly, I should probably stop jinxing the players because that's going to be him going down, just forcing them down over at corner 1. Reese's and Biru just really trying to slam out that gen, but it's not going to get done. It's pain resonance, and we're back into the bats, straight back down the guts of mid. Oh, it's looking all kinds of chopped right now. B1-2 is just really putting on the pressure towards the whole team. He's even gone to this, well, actually, this set of scratch marks here over towards Shaq. That's going to be the stun in his face here. Now, I would think that Reese's is going for the hook since I don't see him on a generator. As Biru did rotate towards Shaq, he may have been the person for the job a little bit earlier on. Do we see somebody actually working that gen? I don't think that we do. We do see scratch marks here, though. They have left it and gone towards 7, so it's just really rinse-repeat scenarios. These are the kind of chases that you need with all survivors left in the trial. I mean, look, Reese's just going to be vaulting into the window there. It's going to spell the down again. Yeah, these chases are a little bit too short. However, we're going to be picking up Reese's after vaulting that window and losing the 50-50 mind game. That's going to be a pain resonance and just slowing the game down even more. That generator has tanked. It was looking so promising a little bit earlier on. However, B1-2 straight back into the dogs after the bats rather, sorry. He's trying to catch out a rotation as to opposed of going straight back to the hook, because ideally you'd want to rotate and then heal the survivors to get everybody healthy, but he hasn't spotted anybody out. So he's gone straight back onto the generator, onto the hook rather, sorry. Biru on a separate motor about 25% of the way. B12, sorry, doesn't have any real reason to leave this vicinity. Look at the vantage point he has. He has clear line of sight, every single indication of any sort of, I don't know, movement that the survivors would have within that area, within these areas. You know, he has the likes of just spotting out mid 9, mid 6, and even over at far mid 3. The only place they could be hiding is essentially where the survivors are now. Short 6 behind the generator there, and over more towards 2 to 3, wherever the hell I think it was Biru was slamming out Pistons 2 rather. Sorry, we are just going to be forcing the stage onto Reese's just to play it a little bit safer, but really trying to bait out a pull, and we know that the survivors are letting the bro cook, as we like to put it here over at OCE. But straight back into the bats, B1-2 is just going to be, yeah, again, applying his eruptions, going back to the hook. It's really stagnant at this point. We do see 2 pop in the distance there, and we know that somebody's over at Shack, so we can just go back straight to this hill and camp out the remaining stages onto Reese's. Unfortunately, did not get too much chase time in the match here, but I guess it does happen to the best of us.
Yeah, we're throwing in a couple nods here at somebody going in on the hook. And honestly, you don't even get this. This is probably might be the death of Lara here. And I'm assuming because Lara was going in, Ace was not. And that... Oh, we get the trade anyways. No, I'm a liar. That'll be Eruption on 6. Ace just here. That's not what I expected, but that will be a trade. And then this will just be the final chase. And this is honestly just... Never mind. Again, I just keep lying. We're just going to be hooking Songbird here. Hooking... I don't know why we haven't gone for this final chase. I am actually a little bit confused. We're just going to be letting Jake roam free. I thought that would have been the end. Completely, honestly. I have been told by one of the refs he is scared of Unbreak. That's valid reasoning. We're going to be in bat form after that unhook has come out and chasing the Jake now. Dead harding, and just continuing to chase. But by the looks of it, there's not much gen prog. Eruption had hit earlier, and this is just going to be probably a simple 4k3. This is also going to spell the death of Jake, so it will be a 2v1, which makes things a lot harder.
Oh yeah, it does. And yeah, after we're scared of Unbreak, that is 2 survivors left in the trial, but it was at the cost of somebody just leaving us. Oh no, that's not pretty. That's just going to be Songbird back on the floor. Biru somewhere off in the distance. Now we're back into the bat forms, really trying to hear him out here. Really trying to just seal the deal on the 4k3, I guess. Burke, sorry. I didn't look at the casters chat for the longest time, and all of a sudden I know B12 is Burke. So Burke's going to be looking here towards the edge map over towards 12, and I do believe this would potentially be a comm coming in from his teammates being like, hey, should check these locations. Oh, he's so close. And the clean break to top it all off, but we did manage to catch sight just for a little bit. However, wait, was it the... Oh, no, it wasn't clean break. What am I saying? It was just him 99ing himself with a med kit. Am I just stupid or am I stupid? Okay, I might be stupid times 2, but as we do take the tag onto Biru, that's going to be the pickup onto Songbird as well. So he's just going to be dropping the pallet here over towards 11, just playing around the 50s very nicely. Dog's still in effect, and that's just going to be the down onto Songbird. Again, we are looking forever in search of Biru to a point where we can actually down him in a favorable location to solidify the matchup here, but Burke, straight back in the dogs. He knows he's around here somewhere, or at least he thinks he's in this vicinity. I'm not too sure where he would have gone. Mr. Spectator, can we get a quick flick around to see where did old mate Biru go? Is he just kind of, yeah, I would assume he was just going for the pickup straight off the bat. He didn't really go towards 7. He just went towards main, hid out for a little bit, waited till it was safe, and then picked up his befallen brethren, I guess. So Burke back into the dog again after emerging from the bats there. just playing around the filler again. You know what? Let's re-release a second album. How do you like that? But this time, Vault the Palette did not make it. That's just unlucky. Piru on the generator here over towards 7, but what else can you do? A little bit of an ambitious play. Now, Burke's in his head and thinks that Biru is just stealthing around the edge map over at 12. We know that's not the case. Straight back into the bats here towards the middle of the map. They're really fighting out for that last generator. That will pull it back to a 4K1 to 4K2 kind of game. And it's, it's the closest that it gets in this scenario. Because 4K1, 4K3 is not too bad in terms of distances. However, for a set that you're meant to be pulling 10 stages on, it's pretty ugly. Biru on the floor now, but Songbird back up in chase and has left the filler over at 11, so maybe he lives to see another day. However, does have the scratch marks here over towards backside main leading into 3. There's a nice little eye filler to be working with. That's going to be going down, but there's not really much after it here. Nice couple of dashes here. Might spell his end. No, we've bumped into the front bumper of the car, and we are just trying to play around the long check spots here. Hellfire goes up. Can we make the distance? I don't think that we do, so it goes back in the pocket. Straight back into the bats, following up the chase. Back onto another filler. And again, this is the chase that you needed a little bit earlier on in the try. I said, who else better than Songbird? And I was not mistaken. The only catch is, I guess maybe Akilla knew not to chase Songbird, who knows, but Songbird going to be going down, and, it was inevitable at that point, but it doesn't matter if anybody bleeds out. It doesn't really matter what kind of result you got from here on out. I mean, you were just never getting 2 generators done to solidify to that condition, or let alone 3 generators for a win condition. So, Team Peony Dynasty were always going to win on that gen point. However, this will be the first set going to them, and taking the pick of Semipro just kind of puts them in that power position of, okay, we've taken our opponent's pick, now it's time to take ours for the 2-0. And definitely doable considering when you look at the nature of this matchup. You see the top of the group, Peony Dynasty, and the bottom of the group, Semipro, going head-to-head. However, I will say, this set in particular was a little more close than I anticipated. I really did think last game that we were going to be seeing outs. However, a 4K1, that's a feat achieved and very well done to Prada. However, as we look into the last remaining dying minutes of this matchup, is there anything you'd like to touch up on, Ellie, while we look at our killer just search forever in search of this slugged survivor that was just on the floor like years ago?
I don't have much of a comment here, but I do think that it just kind of spiraled at the very start of the game. There's only so much scrimming you can do, but if a bad start happens, a bad start happens, and I think that's what happened on the side of Semipro here. It is a little bit scary for them as it was their pick, but as long as they've practiced the other set, I think it will be good. It's just going to be... Streamer, can we see where he is? He's just behind main. Oh, no. I wonder, play a small game of, is he going to bleed out? Or I think Burke's just given up here. I think this is what's happened to Hunter.
Yep, and we're just going to watch him bleed out. But rather than let you guys watch that, and yes, it's going to be boring as per rule set, we don't allow DCs, we are going to be going into a short intermission while we get the next set up for you guys. And that's going to be Wraith on the Dead Dog Saloon. We know how much you guys over at OC love the Wraith on Dead Dog Saloon, but we are watching an NEA versus SEA matchup, so we are back ×3. It is going to be the Wraith on Dead Dog Saloon. You're watching Burke first up here for Peony Dynasty, and then you have the likes of Semipro, Biru, Prada, Songbird, and Reese's. So we've made a quick rotation in, I do believe. I'm not too sure. This is the exact same lineup that we would have seen last time around. I think our Tory Kane was somebody else. I think if I can remember the name correctly, it would have been Miriha, I think. I don't know how you say that name, but regardless, different lineup this time slightly. Going to be Burke on the killer. Just going to be still like looking around here towards the backyard area over at 8. Stock standard stuff to catch out your rotations, as this would be the spawns per Dead Dog Saloon. Now, we're off to a little bit of a slow one here because our survivors have done a pretty good job and just hiding out. And look at that. They were always over at 8. Reese's in a pretty vulnerable position here, being so prone to an opening, and is forced to use the pallet after being blocked off from the window. Straight back into the cloak mode, we're going to be breaking that pallet there and just going back on patrol realistically towards our uncorrupted zone where potentially we can catch someone out on the road, and we do. And that's going to be our Claudette in chase now. Prada does have another strong palette to be using. However, this is some very strong resources being thrown very early on in the game. It could potentially be troublesome a little bit later on. We do see a rotation over into main as well, ready to get that main generator up and pumping. But look at how much progress. I mean, they're trying to really put on Gallows. I mean, the double going on there. Carriage pallet goes down, and we do have the likes of Shaq to just kind of greed the carriage pallet after doing so, but we get blocked at it anyway. It's going to result in a indefinite tag. There it is. It's going to be Songbird now and chase around towards 6, and does have another strong filler. The RNG here has been actually pretty good. However, Burke knows it, leaves that after getting his tag, wants to play the slow game. Has Dragon's Grip to be working with as well. I didn't actually quite get a look of the build, but do have Corrupt Intervention, Eruption, and Pain Resonance, which is just your stock standard stuff. Not opting to go for any sort of sloppy butcher shenanigans here today, but the likes of Dragon's Grip, interesting stuff, I might say, Ellie.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to say it. I did see the Dragon's Grip at the start of the game. Dragon's Grip and Gallo now means that they cannot be working it with the pain res coming through as well. One thing while looking at the build as well is I did notice that there was no sloppy. I don't watch too many Wraith sets, but the ones that I have, I typically see sloppy and the Wraith is playing hit and run. But instead, Burke has decided to go for a tunnel out, not really go for too many hits, and sees Claudette on the side of 2 here. I've also noticed that the 3-gen is 7-8 Gallows, which I feel like is a pretty common 3-gen on this map, and it's something that you want to get out pretty quickly, but with Dragon's Grip that might be a very, very hard thing to do. They are working 12 though, kind of breaking up the main 12 3-gen that there is as well. Kind of just getting Eruption on things, trying to get a tag where he can, and then going to be heading back to the hook here just in case one of the other survivors have rotated for it. Looking around 5 now, trying to look for more survivors, not really finding any. Heading back to the hook, another gen will be popping in the background. Going back to hook and not seeing a survivor around for the unhook, they might honestly just leave him to second instead getting gen prog, getting resets, all of that. Again, I'm a liar again. We're going to go for the unhook, probably a trade here. I wonder, I don't know what, I'm not too confident in what the balancing is, but are there any perks, Hunter, that you know of that help with like, what would I go here with after you getting unhooked? Anything to help with tunneling?
No, I do not believe so, which makes it a little bit more harder for our survivors to be working with. I mean, the best you're going to get is probably a body, or just playing in 2s, as would be the best possible case scenario. Wraith being a very weak killer to be working with, it's usually the correct way of how it's played. Regardless, we're going to be taking the tag onto Biru there after we do get the pickup off onto Songbird, and we're not even going for our tunnel out here, which is quite interesting. We opted to go for our Dragon's Grip survivor, Claudette. Oh, hang on a second. We baited that out and just caught the rotation onto our injured survivor. So he met Songbird in the end. All he had to do was kind of stealth over towards 4 or 5 and not get found, as we were just going to be chasing Prada in that instance. So now it's just kind of flipped the game a little bit on its head as we do take the pickup onto the carriage. There's going to be Mr. Songbird out of the game. So at 3 generators remaining, it's still looking like 4K territory, and it was looking pretty promising if we managed to keep him alive. But considering the fact that we didn't, it now has to rely on an absolutely juicer chase, which, you know, in competitive. Oh no, we forgot about the fact that the guy in chase is still infected with that Dragon's Grip, and that's another pain resonance there, and you hate to see that. Oh my, Burke now again just really after that hook happening there is really able to put himself on the front foot position, and just actually the pole position is probably the best way to describe it. He's going to be taking the break onto the Gallows generator again, and just following up the chase here onto Reese's, who's forced to win the 50s here over at the carriage pallet. Doesn't really have much to go on other than the outside main pallet if he chooses to do so. It's just going to be losing that 50 and getting hit with a tag. Burke's just going to be straight back on the case there. We do see the pickup onto Prada from Biru over towards the backside of 11. And Burke even just stopping midway through chase to kick a generator. That's Aura. But vaulting the window there, really trying to catch out a survivor off guard towards the water tower. Just going to be uncloaking and maybe trying to get that down over the pallet. No, we're going to be breaking it instantly. And not really much to be working with after, you know, we took the chase here over more in the earlier portions of the map. I mean, that was the strong jungle gym resource gone very early on. And we're just going to be infinitely vaulting this if we're not careful. However, we have tried to send it down to 3, and that's going to result in the down onto Reese's. However, we did get a reset in the background because of this chase, which is a plus in our back pocket. I'm not too sure. I don't think there's a pain resonance in our vicinity. I don't even think that we really need it. So we're trying to go for a little bit of more of a hook location as opposed to pain resonance, because the most progress generator, I do believe, is over here at 5. Gonna be taking that hook here, Burke, straight onto that hook rather, sorry. And we do have somebody just hiding out in a locker, and Biru just on the gen here over towards Gallows. Now, I want to see, as our killer, because we know what our killer's going to do. Our killer's going to go ping-pong between Gallows and the hook. Can we get a quick rotation? Oh, as I say that, we are in chase here. Prada is going to be the man for the job, going to hit through the window there. Maybe if we're getting a quick switch onto Prada, we can see what he's running, see what he has at his disposal, as he does rotate towards the backside of 6. He's going to be running, yeah, look, friendly competition, repressed alliance, urban evasion, and I didn't really get to see what that last perk was, but yeah, it was deja vu. Is that one's deja vu, right? Because I get lost in the it is. Okay. Okay, so a little bit of gen. This is the gen jockey build, which is good to know. But nothing to aid him in this regard. Nothing to aid any of his teammates either. And I guess that's the trade-off of what you were saying earlier. It's just, you know, obviously being a weaker set, you can't really bring in anything that's too overpowered that would aid you after coming off of the hook, and it's just going to result in these really quick downs. We have clean break to our disposal, I guess, which would help if this person was the tunnel out, but yeah, there's just not really much to be working with. However, if we go back into more recent events with how the gameplay is panning out, it's going to be pretty hard to escape Burke, and, you know, I have yet to see main be used for such a good chase. So I'm hopefully praying that we get to see that. However, after catching out a survivor here over at 1, this is going to be the down onto them. Even if we do take the killer main, I don't think he'll spend a lot of time there, given the fact that, you know, on his horizon, on the outer skirts of the map, will be survivors working generators. And that's what he doesn't want done, Ellie.
Yeah. Typically, during Wraith sets, we typically see people chasing at main or running straight there, taking a tag and running there immediately. But we haven't seen that at all. We've honestly just been seeing chases around in their gens that they need to be like doing. And at the start of the match, I did say that the 7-8 Gallows 3-gen is a pretty deadly 3-gen, and they haven't broken it out at all, especially with 7-8 and 9 being all pain reses for Burke. He's going to be in this chase with Claudette, and this will be a death hook on Prada here, and that will spell the 2v1 on the side of Semipro, but they are going to be doubling. I want to say this is 3. I couldn't tell. I'm too used to EU comms on this map, unfortunately. But we're going to be, I think Burke knows that and is going to be heading straight there, as he doesn't hear or see any prog on any other gen. This might honestly just spell a 4k3, which honestly we've seen, I think, quite a few of recently, or at least there was quite a few in the Academy season that we had about a couple months ago. We will be getting head on though, which will buy our injured survivor a little bit of time. Running to main this time, the first time that main's actually been utilized this entire game. And we're going to be vaulting the window. Dragon's Grip being procced on the gen on the side of Renato. Let's hope he doesn't get one-tapped.
It's a big ask. I mean, he has nowhere to run after we break that doorway. We only have the outer main pallet to be working with. He is going to be going down, and all of a sudden, Burke is looking at a 4k3 straight in front of his face. Reese's just crouching over a 12. What do you do here? And I don't think there's much to do. Burke still looking around the area of main, sees the blood pools behind the generator. Oh no, we knew he was here all along, and he's down and he's on the floor and out of the game. So I guess their one saving grace is the fact that Biru is fresh hook. If he bleeds out, it will be a fresh bleed out penalty, which will mean that Semipro will have the 4k3 Peony Dynasty. And what a world we'd be living in if that actually were to pan out, and we have yet to see that. However, we still want to be getting this remaining stage onto our survivor. B12 looking in all the wrong places. Biru's crawled off into the 6th section of the map. And Reese's is struggling on the hook here to preserve that time for his teammate to just kind of, you know, just haul us into the corner of the map there. I mean, you're going to be able to do that anyway, but I guess staying in the match never really hurts in this regard. Trying to bait out the hatch play or something. However, B12, or Burke rather, really sniffing out these corners of the map. Needs to be looking over at 6 though, and this is all looking too familiar. Exact same scenario as when we saw 2-tap Timmy's versus IMO in the playoffs. So, yes, Mr. Production Man, that we are referring to you. However, B12 pretty happy and content with his result, I would assume. It honestly doesn't get any better. And we say that Wraith is a 4K machine, but we anticipate 4K1, 4K2, 4K3. Come on now. I mean, it probably should have... Look, when we look at the match, I feel like a big contribution towards this result is the fact that we didn't utilize the strongest landmarks on the map to full effect. I did say there was a lot of really good filler pallets being thrown so early on into the trial, and it left them with nothing to be working with if they were ever to take chase around there in the later game. Whereas if you chase Shaq in main, you still have all those windows to be working with and to delay the tag. There's a lot more safer spots and whatnot, as opposed of being at a filler pallet that you're just forced to throw, or a very strong pallet that you're forced to throw. You saw one over at the jungle gym over at 4 being thrown. You saw the carriage pallet being thrown fairly early as well, and even Shaq. But like, I know, I get it. It's competitive. You don't save resources, but if there's one killer that you're able to afford to do it on, it's Wraith, or at least a couple of them being in the tier 5 category. It makes it a little bit easier. Hence the balancing around them being so strict. Now, we have crawled to the correct location, and surely we find Mr. Ol Renato in the corner of basement for the wacky. Get him done and dusted. Get us on to the next match. 4K3 solidified. Crazy and absolutely incredible stuff.
Welcome back, guys. Unfortunately, we have had some connection issues which caused us to be sent to the wrong server. Sometimes DVD just does what DVD pleases, but hey, it'd be like that sometimes. But we are finally back with, which I'm assuming Prada from Semipro on the killer. A 4K4 is needed, and if I quickly pull up the old averages, we have only had one other race match played, which was week 1, day 3, where we had Excited Notorious get a 4K1 and a 4K2. Today we had a 4K3, so surely that means Semipro get a 4K4, right? To secure the win. And the build, we are not running the Dragon script this time. We are running the Sloppy, which is pretty stock standard, I fear, on a Wraith set, and we just immediately see 2 people on main, but I think this time Peony are actually probably going to utilize the main chases here, as that is the strongest tile on this map. We have our corrupt gens at Gallows, and we have, I believe that was another gen at 8 as well. We have pretty similar gens to the last game, I think, but what do you think of this match so far, Hunter?
We're off to a great start. Look at that, Ellie. We've taken chase main. And do we get the head on? No, there's nobody in the lockers. But we win the stun, though. And that's not going to serve us any justice for Prada. He's just going to be following up here over towards 4. And this is exactly textbook how you have to play the Wraith set. As per Survivor Misery, doing absolute God's work, does decide to greet the pallet and has the window to be making, but does ultimately get tagged at it. Unfortunately, that's how it do be sometimes. But Prada's happy to take that tag and rotate back down to 5, where we see some scratch marks here. Somebody at the water tower. X1 going to be eating a tag very quickly as well, keeping the resource up, might I add. Nothing been thrown just yet, but we are rotating to Shaq, which leads me to believe that maybe we drop the pallet. No, we've greeted it, you greedy man. I don't know if he makes it around for the next time, and no, honestly, I think he does, because we are just not... We do not have enough distance, really, to close in on that. But we're going for an ambitious swing through the pallet to really try and catch Misery off guard. Sentry popping off his generator preemptively there. But, anyways, we don't really have anything within 9 to be working with. We do have a very short rock filler, and now that it's thrown, it is not really a strong resource anymore. We do have the carriage pallet, though, and Sentry... straight back, who was once straight back on the generator, now has hopped off it again because the killer's in the area, so not really safe to do so. Gonna be popping that generator there, and we are gonna be still following up here onto, I do believe this is our Tory, and Sentry putting on the jets now after dropping Shaq pallet. That's Shaq gone. Straight back into the cloak there, really trying to close into the distance, and then just follow up here just on the outskirts of main. The pallet's still being dropped, and we have not won the 50 there as per Prada, but Sentry, rather. It still has this pallet outside of 3 to be working with as well. So really getting a little bit worried for Prada at the moment. These survivors actually having really good chases is proving to be really crucial. And as I say, that's a tie condition met. We still have yet to find our first stage in the game. We're winning all kinds of 50s here. I'm counting $100 and I might be ripping him off a little bit, but that's 150 there. That's another 50 being won. How many can we win on this pallet? That'd be egregious if we can win a few more, but it's going to allow... yeah, Sentry just being able to vault that window straight back into the guts of 2. We do have a proc hit coming in from a reset Misery, who is just going to be eating a tag here after greeting the pallet over at the pallet gym, the jungle gym, rather, sorry. We are able to make the window this time around, and Sentry having the chase of his life, really being able to extend it after the hit take coming in from Misery. But the Mind Game's coming in. Can Prada catch out Misery off guard? No, he can't, and they win another stun. Oh my, could you imagine if we were on still ping? But, I mean, Prada really getting a little bit frustrated right now. Probably will even leave this. No, he's opted to commit here. Now Claudette, all in the meantime, just slamming out Pistons somewhere, which is about 70% of the way done. I'm getting really worried that, yeah, this is just going to be a very low stage game. But it's textbook on how the Wraith is actually meant to be played. You really have to applaud the survivors here, Ellie.
Yeah, I mean, these survivors played it almost near perfectly. They've met the tie condition really quickly without even getting a hook stage given to the killer. I say that as Misery has gone down, and they will be popping that last gen in the background, which will secure the win for Peony Dynasty. I believe that wasn't the only highest prog gen. I think it was Dwight who has about an 80% gen now, but we will be going for the chase on Misery, just trying to play for best result at this point and seeing what he can do against such a good team. This is I would say one of the better teams in the tournament, and they've come in and really showed themselves here. And although Semipro has lost it here, this gives them, they get VOD review, get feedback, see what they can do better. But honestly, Peony just played it so well.
They definitely did. 3 survivors still injured, so we're still able to capitalize on a bit of that. But that firecracker save over at 4 was absolutely crazy. I didn't think it hit because we dropped it behind the wall, and it still managed to actually just catch the line of sight within the vision within our killer. And then, yeah, just problems from there on out. Hit takes coming in and everything, but eventually we do get our first stage of the trial onto Sentry. And we're pretty content with the way things are. We are going for resets as well, just to slow the game down just a little bit more. But it all of a sudden is looking like a very low stage game. Prada's going to be breaking the pallets here over towards main as well, just closing in the distance, really trying to get his next chase on the board here. But we know 3 survivors are within this area. We do have Claudette ready for clean break, but we've caught them out just before that it actually procs, and trying to hop into the locker to evade the tag, but that's not going to do them any justice, and the ping's going to make them stay in the locker too, so not too sure what happens there. However, Prada straight back on the case towards his unhook there over at 2. He's just roaming there and really trying to back up his tunnel out onto Sentry, who doesn't really have anything to be working with within this portion of Dead Dog Saloon. As we do uncloak here on the half wall, we do lose the 50-50 mind game. There's going to be another vault coming in hot. And again, really only this window in a dream. To be able to last this long is absolutely incredible for our survivors. Does he make the window here on out? No, he does not. And there was a little bit of ping played into there, I do believe. So a little bit of a nasty looking hit through that window, as I might say so myself. That's going to be further Sentry on the hook there, going to second stage. All in the meantime, X1's generator is just going off its chops, and we got Claudette up and running in the trial again. Not really much you can do here from here on out. What you could do, I guess, is manage to get the unhook onto Sentry and then play bodies as your X1 onto Misery and get the door done in the background all at the same time. However, I'm not too sure if he'll need the body here because he's winning all kinds of 50s on this carriage. That's what I'm saying, the body coming in, but it's not quite working out. And we've faced smack bang into the middle of the carriage. There's going to be a basement hook here. No, surely you go basement. No, Prada. Oh, boy, oh, boy. I mean, if you go basement, it's just solidified death at that point for the 5 stage, but this potentially could be even more outs. And I think he's getting a little bit frustrated and a little bit antsy with his result here, because anybody in their right mind knows that if you just go basement there, it's pretty much GG, or at least it's looking like GG. However, Prada going to be cloaking up, trying to cut off the rotation into corner 8, but the gate's open, the blind's coming in, the uncloak, does it do us justice, or do we get the heel take? Oh, we didn't even make the swing! Oh, incredible stuff from Peony Dynasty. This is beautiful for the 3-stage game, which is, you know, more amongst the average of what you should see in a Wraith set in an ideal world.